The bids are in, the gavel is dropped, ladies and gentlemen. Here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right, this is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine auction, wine retail, and just wine. My name is Jeff McGurn on the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is the wine expert here at WineBid, Paul Walker. He's taught us all everything everyone wanted to know about wine. And today we're going to be talking
everything
about...
you don't know.
Everything
you don't want to know and don't know.
Exactly. Today we're going to be talking about, we're going to be going over the rest of the world. So this is our podcast where we look at everywhere outside of the US and France, but we're going to start with Italy. Buongiorno.
Are we going to start taking our planes back and forth between Piedmont and Tuscany again?
I prefer to use a high-speed rail. I bought a Eurail pass today, and I will be traveling all around.
Okay, I'm going to have to keep up because I got stuff all over.
Without regard.
I just have to.
Without regard to boundaries. I have no boundaries.
Without regard to my spreadsheet.
Without regard to your spreadsheet. Let me just start off with, there's a bunch of cool Gaia coming into.
Yeah. There is. There is.
Like a ton of Gaia.
Yeah.
66 Gaia Barbaresco, 73 Barbaresco, 74 Barbaresco, 76 Barbaresco, 85 Barbaresco, Tilden. I mean, there's a bunch of Barolos, the 60 Barolo, 78 Barbera.
Those were interesting. I was going to point out that this is a really cool example of something that you can get into. Late 70s Gaia, again, it's Barbera, it's not Barolo, but still for $125 reserve, I've probably got bids by now, but very interesting to be able to, find something like that. No, there's still no bids on those 78s.
Two bottles.
There's two in one lot, and there's another lot of a single bottle as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was kind of exciting because, Gaia's notoriously expensive, and 78, Barbera, it's pretty interesting to be able to get into that at that price.
I am exceedingly interested in those guys. I would be remiss if I didn't I know you're going to bring this up because you memorized them all. The 2015 Sassicaia, which was number one in Wine Spectator. Like I said, Paul memorizes all Wine Spectator's top 100 lists because that's like you only buy wine on their top 100 list, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Like if it didn't make top 100 list, Paul's not.
Forget it. It reminds me actually to bring up this St. Jean's Saint-Cyprian this week. That's what I always think of when I think of top 100.
1958 Giacomo Conterno Barolo Reserva Monfortino. This one for $1,500. And here was the cool thing. There's actually some recent tasting notes that say that this stuff's actually still kicking. It's actually quite good. But
the 50, did you say the 58?
Yeah, the 58.
Yeah, so I did see that. That's quite rare.
We're looking at 65 years. So, if you know somebody who's having their 65th wedding anniversary or 65th birthday this year, for a cool $1,500, you could have a piece of history there.
True. That's
2012 cool. Giuseppe Quintarale Rosso Ca del Merlot.
Wow, you're skipping and hopping.
I'm all over the place,
all over the country.
No bounds.
To the Veneto.
No bounds. This one I thought was interesting because it's Merlot, but it has there's no Merlot. It's basically a Corvina blend.
Yeah, it's just.
And I love Quintarale. Huh?
Merlot, but it has no T on it.
Yeah.
If you noticed.
Merlot.
I don't know if you knew that.
I did. I'm looking at it.
That's cheap for Quintarale, but this is like the kind of like Rosso de Veneto. It's not,
Not the good stuff.
No. I mean, it's good. It's good wine, but it's not as complex as, some of the other wines, the Valpolicella Classicos.
See the 64 Mascarello Barbaresco for $365 and
I didn't see that.
1970 Protetore del Barbaresco for
I did see those. Yeah, the Protetories I did notice because there was a bunch of them all the way up to 15. You've got 1970, 74, and then a bunch of others. Mags of 97, Mag of 15, and Protetory is still kind of an underappreciated deal, I think, when you look at all the other Pratas in Piedmont.
It just seems fairly reasonable, all things considered.
It is, yeah. No, it absolutely is.
Wait, let me see if I've got any other Barolos, just because I know you'll vomit if I go outside. 1974 Fontana Frida.
Yeah, I saw that too. There's
for
quite a few
105.
Fontana Fredda wines in. And the 74 was what? It was pretty inexpensive, right?
At 105.
Oh, it got bid up. Okay, it started at 95 Sunday. So yeah, people are going after that. San Pietro, 74 San Pietro.
Fontafrida, no. 1974 Fontafrida Fredda Barolo.
Oh, okay. Because I see there's a couple. Interesting.
There's 13 Grasso Barolo Runcat Reserva Mag for 440 that already has a bid. I thought we have two of those actually. I thought those were super interesting. There's this 2012 Pura I Figli Barolo Canubi Mag for 170. And then we have four that haven't sold at 180. And then this one's at 170, which I thought was kind of interesting that we've got a bunch sort of at the lower end.
Yeah, it's weird. That is funny. Bunch of mags of the Pura wines.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like a ton of mags in auction. And then
deals on those wines.
We have an 07 Lorenzo Accomaso Barolo.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Rochette for 225. And then with one bid, we've got a little bit of action on this 2018 Giuseppe Cortese Barbaresco Rabaya,
yeah.
40. It's actually 41 now after the one bid.
That's a good deal because Rabaya's pretty. I think it's a tiny little spot, and so they're sought after wines. But yeah, there's some good deals for sure.
There's some just tremendous deals on Italian wine, especially Tuscany and Piedmont, and some great years. But yeah, that Rabaya, it gets great. The tasting notes look outstanding. And
did you see this Cascina Luisan Barbaresco Rabaya that's in? It's obviously a different producer. I don't even know them, but it's got good scores and it's at $31. I mean, it's a steal.
So just some tremendous deals.
Can I mention a couple of Piedmont wines so that
you can mention some Piedmont
wines. All right. 15 Berlotto. I saw Monvigliero at 275. You mentioned the Grasso Magnum. That caught my eye. 74 Fontana Fredda. Obviously, lots of great Gaias. I did mention the Giacomo Conterno also, or I put it in my list, I should say. And then there was also some great older Mauro Mascarello Barbaresco, 64 at 365. There's some Monprivato 1718. And then there's the Santo Stefano di Perno Barolo as well from Mauro Mascarello. And that is at 60, which I thought was actually pretty good deals to get into that producer. And let's see, there's also some Nebbiolo from 1970 at 105 as well, Mauro Mascarello. And then Giuseppe Rinaldi Langhe Fresa at 17 at 65. It's obviously not the Barolo from Rinaldi, but still not expensive to try a Langhe Rosso. There's some 15 La Spinetta Barolo Campe and 16, which don't see too often. 125 for the 15, 120 for the 16. You mentioned the Lorenzo Accomaso Fignetto Rocchette 07 at 225. 52 Marchesi di Barolo Gran Reserva at 215. I thought was not terribly expensive for quite a vintage 1952. You didn't see those very often these days. 15 Paolo Scavino Barolo Rivera got a bid at 71. At least on Sunday, it might have gone up from there, but didn't think that was too much. 2010 Palazzo Barolo. Palazzo is kind of a favorite for me because we used to bring these wines in when we were importing stuff directly. They're really, really cool people. And $30 for a 2010 well-aged Barolo. I didn't think that was very expensive at all. We mentioned all the Produttoris. And let's see. Yeah, there's just like a lot of interesting deals here. Tredi Berry Barolo La Comune di Amora, which I don't know how this is differentiated from the other wines, but they're very inexpensive. The 18 at 35. There's another lot at 36, 2 bottles each. And then there's this 13 Terra de Barolo. Hadn't heard of this before. Undici Comuni Arnaldo Rivera at 30. So just a lot of really interesting wines that are not terribly expensive from both Piedmont and Tuscany, actually. I don't know if you were going to move on to
I was going to do Tuscany.
Yeah. Okay.
2011 Fasinello de la Pave, a mag for 220, which is interesting because we've got 4 750s and they're at 115 a piece for the 750s. So you actually save $10.
Like a large format.
At those prices, you're practically making money. Right. It's so funny. I'm constantly having this discussion with people about like, what do you mean large formats don't, catch a premium? And I'm like, no, it's just, it's whatever. I mean, very rarely are you going to,
I think you get charged a premium if you buy them from the winery, especially
for sure
in Napa.
I think a lot of retailers try and convince people they should be paying a premium for mags as well.
Yeah.
2010 Il Pagillon Brunello di Montalcino for 100. This one,
10 Poggioni. There's 9 of those, right?
They're amazing. There's 9 of those. Those are amazing. I literally just drank one like a few weeks ago. It was outstanding.
Yeah, it's really good.
2000. I mean, there's just a ton of 2010 Brunellos coming into auction this week at great prices that I'm not going to mention because I'm probably going to bid on them. But like 2010 Biondi Santi, Tenuta Il Greppo, Brunello del Montalcino for 170. I didn't think that was too crazy at 170 for a Biondi Santi.
No, those wines. Yeah, I mean they're expensive out the gate. Obviously, the older ones, are quite a bit more, but still, that's not terrible.
This Fattoria del di Felsina Fontaloro.
Yeah, Fontaloro is great.
It already has action on it. Started at 45. It's got a bid taking it to 46, and then we've got a couple of 2010 Canalicchios. We've got the Brunello del Montalcino and the Brunello del Montalcino Canalicchio. And both of them have bids. The regular Brunello has one bid and it's at 70. We have actually 6 of those. And then the Brunello Canalicchio was at 50 and it's at 51. We've got 7 of those, or 6 of those, the other one is 7 of those. We also have the 08 for 55, but I feel like 2010 was just such a better vintage. I was trying to wrap my mind around why 08 would be more expensive than 2010, just because, I mean,
probably, it might have been scores. What are they both in right now?
They're both in right now,
okay.
And the 08's $5 more. So me personally, I grab all those 2010s, right? Skip the 08. Okay, 2 more years on it, but regardless, I don't know. I feel like I was even looking at the scores, albeit I think I was looking at the scores on Cellar Tracker, and I mean, not surprising. I believe the 2010. Yeah, it had much better scores.
It's interesting. That's funny.
It just didn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, I don't. That's curious. Yeah, that is kind of strange. Although the 08, it's weird because 08 doesn't. The only 08 score I see is Robinson. It's Jancis Robinson. So I don't know. That's weird.
But look, pricing is the pricing. The market is the market. This is an opportunity to grab. Like that was the thing. There's just so many 2010s that I felt like were priced below release.
Yeah, it's true.
And that vintage is just going to get better and better and better, right? Like it's barely begun to drink. So I don't know. I have a feeling that you're going to see 2010s, not immediately, but 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, they're going to be incredibly sought after because it was such an epic vintage for Brunello.
Yeah, no, it's true. I actually listed, let's see, how many, all of these are $40 or under in reserves. There's like Verbena, Tenuta Whacker. There's Scopone, Poggiolandi is a little higher. Excuse me, that's also 16. Lagode, 30. Lavallona, 35. La Manella, 35. I mean, crazy. And they have scores too, if that matters. They've a lot of these have really good scores. Chitile di Sopra, Poggio Ronconi. Yeah, it's just.
I mean, haven't you mentioned
Centolani? I mean,
haven't you mentioned enough Brunellos that I'm tracking?
I just found all of these.
Slow your roll there. Let's talk about something else.
Multiple bottles of each too. So I don't think they're going to get, they're not going to get pushed out of range. They're all going to still be within a reasonable, hammer, I think.
I mean,
they'll sell. That's the thing, right? Is that they'll all sell. probably.
Literally, you're like listing all this stuff I'm tracking, but like I'm finding these 2010. I'm going through. I'm finding all these 2010 Brunellos. It's like $30, $35,
Yeah,
$40.
it's amazing.
And I feel like I was paying quite a bit more for that for a lot of these, Brunellos on release.
Right.
And
then they were gone. They were like on release.
Yeah, they were couldn't
6
find
months or whatever at retailers, and then they're on to the next vintage. So.
But yeah, so let's stop talking about Brunellos. And
there's a couple Super Tuscans too. There's Pergola.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk Super Tuscans. There you go.
Never cheap. Montevertini, and people always. It's very sought after in the wine professional community and the sommelier community, if I dare say it. They love to talk about Pergola Torti and how amazing it is and how it ages and how complex and amazing it gets over time. And that's true. It does. It's very expensive now, though, thanks to, influential wine professionals. $195 for the 18. Let's see. And now I think most everything else I have on my list is Brunello. So I'll just leave it at that. You mentioned Il Poggione. It's $100 for those. There's 9 of them. Not cheap, but great one. Oh yeah, there's 08 Castello di Rampolla Vigna del Ceo Magnum for $250, which I thought was awesome. Don't often see Rampolla in mag, so that stuck out to me. I actually just had last night 08 Pupilli Siffredi, and it was just amazing. So I think those 08 Super Tuscan blends are drinking really well right now. So that Rampolla mag, well, it'll probably last quite a few more years, especially in that format. But still, there's a 3-pack of BB Greats Testamata Colore at $555, which I thought was cool. I don't often see, original wood case from this producer, so that was neat. And then 16 Altesino Brunello Reserva at $65. I didn't think that was very expensive either. So those are my non-$40 and under Brunello picks.
Anything else in Italy before we move on?
Yeah, there was a couple. Let's see. I did actually have a couple more things to mention. There's Occhi Pinti Il Frappato, which is very, I would say, sort of well known among the natural wine community. These wines have been around for obviously a long time, but inexpensive. I think, at auction, they don't have the same, I think, traction as they do in retail. And that's fine. They're good deals here. AR Pepe, the Valtellina Superiore Grumello Reserva. There's 7 bottles of that. It looks like they all have bids at 66. 1999 Montefeltrano I saw in this week. It's really, really good. Aglianico, delicious stuff at 60. And then there's some Sicilian Etna Rosso from.
Okay, next. Let's move to another region.
There's a whole bunch of it. You're really going to buy all 15
region.
bottles for $30? Anyway.
Well, I'll tell you what I did buy. Like I did, I talk about Nerello Mascalese all the time.
Yeah.
And Rosso. I did pick up some recently because it's so reasonably priced, and I find it to be a fantastic wine for pairing with a variety of different meals. And it's not just like, because everyone's always like, it's Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir, Pinot Noir, maybe Cru Beaujolais, if you're not eating like a steak. But nobody ever mentions Etna Rosso. And it goes great with seafood and chicken.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's versatile.
Yeah, it's true. The white's really good too. They make it's not the pre-phylloxera white, but they make a white wine that's like a Reserva level, higher end, super high acid that lasts a super, super long time. Of course, I forget. Is it because the red version is in this week, right? The Santo Spirito Vecchia Vigna. I know it's like an old vine white wine. I thought maybe it is Santo Spirito, but I don't know. Anyway, that stuff's great too. And it does go with all kinds of different food.
Love.
Yeah, Ternary is delicious wines.
I'm trying to keep Etna wines on the down low. Okay, I would appreciate your help.
Well, there's a bunch of it. There's a bunch of it in this week. So
there is a ton of it in, and there's even a good amount of Etna Bianco. And I literally just had some Etna Rosso that I bought on WineBid a few weeks ago. I think I paid like $30 or $40 a bottle. Delivered, and it was so stunningly good. Like I was sharing it with, and everyone I gave a glass to was like, "This is amazing." It was just like beautiful acidity, and the flavor was fantastic. It was awesome.
Yeah, I know. Fantastic wines.
Anyway,
Did you see
right.
this? Sorry. We were talking about wines from Sicily, and I think, is it new this week? No, it's not. Never mind. There's a Cornelissen mag that I didn't catch. Must have been last week or week before. But yeah, anyway, all sorts of Sicilian wine to choose from this week.
Yeah, that Cornelissen.
Jeff's not the only one who's going to bid on it. Actually, yeah. Did you see there's already bids on
the mag?
No, on the Santo Spirito Vecchia Vigna, the old vines.
Yes.
Cabernet.
Yes, thank you.
Better get your bid.
Like you just mentioned it, and there's already a bid. Thanks.
It's finally hammered effect in real time.
In real time, like they do have the Santo Spirito Bianco.
Yeah, I think this is a different white than I'm thinking of. I'll take a look at it. This is the Vigna Nike, but I have no idea. Obviously, as you know, I'm not an expert. So even though you call me one every time, so if I were an expert, I would know. I would know the difference between all of these.
Let's hop on over to Germany.
Yeah, lots of German wines in this week.
Lots of German wine. A bunch of JJ Prum. I'm not going to go through it all, but I will mention that we have a bunch of JJ Prum. We have this 01 Donhof Oberhauser Brücke Riesling Auslese Gold Capsule Nummer 6 mag for 400, which I thought was really interesting. 04 Fritz Haig Brauneberger Jufer Sonnenur Riesling Spätlese Nummer 7 mag for 75. We've got 2 of those. A good amount of we had a few large format German wines come in, which I think are pretty cool. 08 Reinhold Hart Peace Porter Goldtropfchen Riesling Spätlese Nummer 12 for $45. And then 1999 Milz Lorenzhoff. I know I'm butchering that. Schuttenheimer, Apotheke, Riesling, Eiswein, Gold Capsule, 375 ml.
Wow, for $31 for Eiswein half bottle, that's steal.
Oh, it already got a bid?
Yeah, it does.
I was like, $31 for 24-year-old ice wine?
Yeah, that's cheap.
Yeah, that's a song, right? And then 1992, Theo Schmitz Schwab Würzgarten Riesling Auslese Nummer 8 for $80 or for $60. And I thought that was another one where it's like you're talking 31 years of age on an Auslese for $60.
Half bottles of 94 for 25 also. See that?
Some phenomenal deals. What did you notice? And what did I miss?
I think that was kind of, what did I have? I knew you were going to bring up a bunch, so I didn't actually put too many on my list. I think it was the Von Buell Grosses Gewachs 34, number 34 was at $55. That was pretty cool. And then there's also, we've been kind of mentioning there's a mag of it actually in this week too. Cause the Falkenstein wines, there's a mag of the Spätlese, the finer, at $95, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Let's head on down to Spain. And 1969 Vega Sicilia Unico. 580. It already has a bid.
Yeah.
630 now. We've got a 2010 Lopez de Heredia Rioja Vina Podonia Reserva. Has 1 bid on it, taking it from 50 to 51. We have 14 more of those without bids, though. But if you're really interested in some action, you could continue to bid on that one. 2001 Bodegas Muja Rioja Torre Muga for 140. I actually picked up some of the Prado Anilla last week for 70, which I think is a really good price because the newer, we have I think it was like 2010 or 2011 Prado Anilla. The newer ones are getting released at like $85, $90 a bottle. So I got $70 sold.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
Got the age on it. 2014 Bodegas Pintia, Toro Pintia. We have 6 of those at $60. And then finally, 2019 Commando G Rosas Premier Cru for 50.
Yeah, I saw that. That's really interesting because these other Commando wines are insanely expensive, right? This is another one I want to do a little bit of research on. But first of all, also, how do they call it a Premier Cru?
They did their own classification.
That's really weird. Yeah. It's weird though, because it doesn't actually say that on the label. It has like,
it does say it on the label.
It says 1ER as if it's a Premier Cru, but it doesn't say Premier Cru. So I think it might be some kind of cheeky pun on, French labels, because it just says 1 and then ER and a Rosa. So what does that actually mean? Anyway, definitely interesting wines. I've never tasted these wines, and they keep popping up. I think some of the other white wine, I think it's been in prior auction, 500 ml as well. But anyway, yeah, very curious as to what that is. I have to look more into that. The other thing I noticed too, I don't know if you saw this, Jeff, there's the multi-vintage Vega Sicilia in as well, which is the 91, 94, and 99. Usually the inspectors put that in the title, so it's kind of confused, but you can see it on the label, the 3 vintage blend, which is not cheap. It's cheaper than the 69, but not by much. $4.35 for per bottle. There's also the Valbuena 5.0 3-bottle set for $4.65, which I think was too bad. So those are my Spain picks.
Let's hop on over to Australia. We've got a 95 Penfolds Grange for $3.90, which, I always love to mention this, that like Grange retails for like $600.
I know.
Right? And yet you can go find a 95 for $390, under $400.
That's true.
So,
that's crazy.
I mean, if you're going to get Grange, man, and this stuff is, according to tasting notes, it's singing right now. 2006.
92. Did you say it was?
95.
Yeah. I mean, all that I lasts a long, long time, but I'm sure 92, if you decant it for a couple hours, it's probably delicious.
2006 Torbreck Run Rig for $165. And then this one, it was a pick that I have for you. The 2020 First Drop Wines Mother's Milk Shiraz.
I saw that.
I picked there 18 of those for you. And I think you would love those because of the label, because it's got a comic on the label.
Not only that, but it's one of number 26 in the top 100 of Wine Spectator 2022. So
I want you to think about that for a second. That this was the 26th best wine in the world in 2020. That like was DRC as good as this? No, didn't even touch it. Right. I mean, you look at all the wines in the world. This is number 26. And we've got
pretty funny. Did you look at actually, I'm looking at the comic right now. A vineyard, an old truck, 2 friends, and a shovel equals an early grave. No, a mother's milk.
I thought this was in reference to like the graphic novels and the show is it on Amazon? The Boys.
No idea.
I think there's like a comic book.
I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know anything about graphic novels, but it's funny. I wonder what does Mother's Milk have to do with like some kind of fabled comic book? We'll have to find out.
I mean, maybe it's on the back label, or maybe it's on the next vintage.
Yeah, well, that's right, because it says next the tale of something. There's like a teaser for the next label. Probably, you're right. Probably the following vintage. Oddly enough, too, the vineyard picture kind of looks like Romane Conti, because it has the cross there on the little sort of clos wall around the vineyard. That's pretty funny. I don't think there's power lines running through Romane Conti, though. Anyway,
underground.
We're getting carried away.
At the end of the day, I wanted you to be aware of another whimsical wine label, because I know that
also has a top 100 rating from the Spectator.
It also has the top 100 rating so it basically checks 2 major boxes for Paul Walker.
It's a label I can actually get into, because it's a graphic novel, it's a comic strip, and top 100. Well, thank you so much for pointing me. And there's 18 bottles of it. So I have a feeling they're all going to have a bid after this. Let's move to New Zealand real quick, unless there was some other Aussie wine you wanted.
Yeah, the one in New Zealand I got was the 2018 Taimata Estate Coleraine, which is kind of an interesting Bordeaux blend.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, I don't know that wine. I mean, I know the producer, but I don't know. There's actually a bunch of bunch of Temata wines in this
There
week.
are.
Yeah.
And I think that was the only one, oh yeah.
There's Syrah and also Cabernet Merlot blend too. Interesting. Huh.
We're getting a bunch of action as well. So
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of interest in those Temata wines. You know what? I was looking at something else. My bad. Not the Temata wines. Temata wines have yet to get a lot of action, but you're right. We've got the Merlot Cabernet, and we've got the Bullnose Syrah and this Coloré.
Yeah, no, I actually I don't know why I put all of these down on my list, but there's a bunch of Cumia River Chardonnays.
Yeah.
Different designations too, which is really interesting because the prices are all over the place. The Coddington 21 Chardonnay is 30, but then the Hunting Hill 21 is 45. And then there's Maid's Vineyard or Mate, I don't know what it is, Chardonnay 2021 for 50. So yeah, all over the place.
I would recommend people avoid those though.
Because you want to buy. There's a bunch.
I would recommend.
There's
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't.
The inexpensive ones too. There's 10 bottles of the regular Chardonnay from 21. There's 9 bottles of the Rays Road, which is 25. So why is that less than say the Hunting Hill or the Coddington? I don't understand this pricing. Anyway, there's a bunch of it. Great Chardonnay. There's the Pinot Noir too. 2020 Pinot Noir from Cumia River, which I've never tasted. I've had the Chardonnay before, but not the Pinot Noir. So
I think tracking all of the ones you mentioned. I was really hoping you wouldn't say anything about those, that I could distract you with the Temata Bordeaux blend, and then we would just move on to somewhere else before you realize what had happened. But alas, I have no such luck. Maybe I'll get lucky and win one of the Cumia River wine. But you're right. There's a ton of them, and they're phenomenal stuff. Right. Let's go over to Israel. There's a 2015 Zora Misty Hills for $60, which I thought was super interesting. And that concludes Israel. And I know you.
Let's see. Yeah, that's the wine I flagged too. Yeah, I noticed that. Interesting.
Over in Chile, I flagged the 04 Montes Apalta Syrah Folly for 65. That one I thought looked good. And then in Lebanon, I'm jumping back over. I'm really jumping around. 1978 Chateau Sara Red Blend for 25. That was interesting. And then there's just a ton of port coming into auction.
Yeah, there is.
From the usual suspects, Taylor, Dow, you name it, it's the usual suspects of port. If you are into port, there's a ton of stuff this week.
One wine that I thought was interesting also was the Quinta Vesuvio, the Duro Tinto, which is like the dry red wine. It's supposed to be really, really good. But anyway, got big scores too. Sounds delicious.
So I don't know if this is true. I've tried to look it up. I'm sure you probably know the truth here. I was told there's a certain percentage of grapes that port producers are not, like, they have to hold back. Like, they can only use a certain percentage of their grapes for port, and everything else has to be used for dry red wine. And consequently, you can have situations where the dry red wines in Portugal are outstanding and just phenomenal because they're forced to use high quality grapes that they would have rather used for port, but legally there's a certain percentage they have to put into dry red wine or that they just can't use for port. So I don't know if that's true, but I was told that and it sounded reasonable, but I'd be curious if anybody knows, what the law says there and if that is actually accurate.
I don't know. If were I an expert, Jeff, I would know, but I'm not, so I can't tell you.
I'm guessing you'll find out.
Sorry to disappoint you. No, I was actually just brought up the spectator or the advocate score to see, because sometimes there's additional descriptions about, the producer or what they do, what they're planning, et cetera, et cetera. But the 14 Tinto, 70% Touriga Nacional and 25% Touriga Franca. Then it says a dollop of Tinta Amarella filling out the blend. 14 months in New Oak. Anyway, sounds delicious.
Anything else from around the world that I missed? That we
no, I think we covered it. I don't think there was anything else.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, this has been our Around the World, Everywhere but US and France episode of Finally Hammered. My name is Jeff McGurn. This is Paul Walker, wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.